Monday morning, welcome everybody. It is January 24th. I'm back in the studio. We have a whole weekend's worth of stuff to talk about, and Kyle's still recovering from a Bengals win just on the weekend. Let's go.
Everywhere I go, the people really want to know who I is and who I be. They stop and stare when they see
Monday bouncing. Monday bouncing.
So good.
It's going to be a big week, man.
It's going to be an absolutely crazy week. We've got so much in store. Can't wait to tell everyone about it as it comes, because we're still figuring it out, but it's going to be a great week. So,
look, I know.
And here's the thing. When you start your weekend off on a Saturday afternoon and you're a Bengals fan and the Bengals don't get Bengalsy and they win 2 playoff games in a row after not having won a single one in 31 years, like, the week has to be good. To be good.
It feels strangely very Eaglesy to be this morning when I pulled up to the office and Danielle's husband, Nate, dropped her off. And as he's leaving, he rolls down his window and I look at him and he's like, "So we're Bengals fans now?" I was like, "Oh yeah." I was like, "It feels really Eaglesy, doesn't it?" He's like, "Yeah." We're like, "Yeah, we're totally Bengals fans."
Like, we're just going to find a team.
I was like, never in my life did I ever think I'd have a reason to say that. But yes, so it was just a crazy weekend. If you're not into football, the Bengals are kind of a little bit of a Cinderella story. Hadn't won a playoff game in 31 years up until last week. And, I was thinking about the fortitude that it takes to go season after season, just taking the hits and still coming back and still maintaining some belief and, really, honestly, like staying together for the community experience of it. If you don't live in an NFL town, or certain NFL towns too, it's like, it's such a community builder, and there's such a camaraderie around the losing. Actually, when you have a team there's a community of Bengals fans in Nashville, and then we're always like, we're doing it another year, right? We can do it. But check this out. Listen to the weekend, right? So the Bengals win for people that aren't football fans, against the Tennessee Titans. So Tennessee Titans play in Nashville. Right. Yeah. So, okay. So I was trying to stay hunkered down. Right. right. Don't let anyone see the orange.
But here's some of the stats on this weekend. Right. One, they went on a field goal, of which McPherson, who's the field goal kicker, says to Joe Burrow, the quarterback of the Bengals, as he's walking out, he kind of looks at him, shrugs, goes, "Looks like we're headed to the AFC Championship," before he kicked the field goal.
That's swagger.
Before he kicked it. That's so strong. He's a rookie. Then
that's unbelievable. How far it was a long kick too.
It was I think it was 52 yards. He had already hit a 54-yarder.
So 52 yards is a long kick, right? He could do it, but that is not a gimme.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, not a gimme at all, right? So that happens. Next game ends on a walk-off field goal. The next game on Sunday ends on a walk-off field goal. And then the most ridiculous playoff football game I think I've ever seen in my life, right? And 25 points are scored in less than 2 minutes between the Chiefs and the Bills. Chiefs go on to win it. Patty Mahomes is just absolutely insane, right? It was a crazy weekend of excitement. And I saw this stat this morning that 80 of the top 100 rankings for TV this weekend were from NFL football surrounded events. That's crazy. People linear TV is still in, y'all.
It, especially for things that you cannot predict, and things, I love it because it's something that kind of brings people together, right? Yep. Like all the other things fighting for ratings and bragging are usually things that kind of tear people apart. We don't get too much because we have some moves to talk about, but I was traveling for the last few days, as you may know, with my wife, Sarah. Had a conference and just a couple of days off, and we got home, and when we don't have our kids with us, we get in conversations with everybody It's awesome, right? We just get in conversation with everybody. We forget. And I came back and I was like, traveling, when you travel and have some time to like breathe because you're not like running from one thing to another, you understand one thing. And it's that this country is so much more full of people who are willing to like find common ground than you would believe if you watch news or scrolled Facebook feeds. And it was just really encouraging to me, saying like, don't believe the hype. Actually, the things we're doing as communities and as people are far deeper and far more meaningful and far more aligned than most of the media world will help you to believe. So this is one of the things that we do. Hopefully this spot is a little bit of that for you. Let's talk about some news. So I drove a Tesla last week for the first time, and saw this article in Bloomberg and wanted to talk about it. So Scott Painter, the name should sound familiar, the founder of TrueCar, right? Very infamous name in automotive. He is starting a new company that enables people to get in Teslas much easier in less than 10 minutes. And basically the model's this. This company called Autonomous, autonomy, I think. Yeah, it's not to be confused with autonomous driving, but really the freedom and autonomy is what they're saying. So we'll see. But basically, they buy Teslas, Autonomy buys Teslas, and then you, with a credit card, can lease one month to month with a 2 or 3 month minimum. And it's like $500 or $600 a month, but you do have to put like, I can't remember, it's like $5,500 down. So if you buy a Tesla, you have to put about $4,500 down. Your payment's about the same. But the point is, a lot of people are EV curious and don't want to make the commitment until they drive one. So here's a way you can dip your toe in the water and get behind the wheel of a Tesla and drive it for a few months to see if you like it before making any kind of purchasing decision.
So if you don't know, also, did you know that this is actually Scott's second dip into like lease-based or like
Fair.com was him.
So Fair was first, right? And so this is an interesting move because it's a very similar type platform, but with a lot different crowd, right? The
hyper focus.
The Fair crowd was much more of a like obviously rideshare type drivers looking for high mileage type lease offerings or payment conscious people. This is much more of a like not so much payment conscious, much more curious, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be an interesting market play. It for me is like the next level from going from like rental to lease, to this type of lease structure to a purchase structure. So I don't know where that fits in the market, but I
think that there's definitely a segment of people who would be willing to pay a little extra money to feel like, like, is my next car an electric car, or maybe it's like the next one, right? So the next lease cycle. So maybe like my lease is up in the next year. I might not be ready to jump EV yet, but I might be thinking like probably in the next 36 months, I will, and have a little bit of extra money to throw at it and are willing to do it. I think the market exists. And I think that the extra money isn't going to be an issue. And like, I'll just say it, man, it was a lot of fun to drive an EV. It was a whole lot of fun. I got back in my Telluride. Like, we landed in the airport last night and I felt like I was like driving a horse and buggy, like as far as how that sucker moved.
Also how it moves, right?
How it moves. Like, it's crazy how quickly it was a like little disorienting, but it was disorienting in a good way. All of a sudden I had unbelievable power and control at my fingertips. It was just way easier to drive. And the braking thing, right? Not having to hit the brake. If you don't know, you're driving an EV, when you let go of the gas, typically the cars are set up so that it starts taking the power from the wheels to recharge the battery. So like it clicks in the turbine and starts to charge the battery. So it automatically brakes the car. Took a little getting used to, but after that, I was like, wow, this is actually a really easy way to drive the car. So I think he's going to get traction as long as he can get inventory. They said they're being in the article, it said they're being really flexible on things like wheel style and color, like things that you would be willing to wait for if you're buying this car and this is going to be your driver. Right. But when you're not, you're only leasing it. So they're like, okay, what do you have available? And I think they already have like 300 Teslas, and they're getting going. So I mean, look, Scott Painter's got the resources, got the experience. So it'll be an interesting test experiment to see. But I think it will also, like we were talking about, a lot of things, rental car companies, et cetera, driving EV adoption. And before last week, I was like, I don't know. But literally in the last 4 days, all of a sudden I understand it. And I'm like, yep. Oh yeah. This is it.
it's a market timing play, right? Because probably in like 7 or 8 years, it doesn't make so much sense, right? EV is more accessible. But right now, with accessibility to EV and interest in EV at an all-time accessibility low, interest high, it's a great move.
So, speaking of transition from EV,
segue.
How to get one in. Article this morning, in automotive news, BMW is stopping production of their legendary V12 engine.
We get a moment of silence. Right?
Have you ever driven one of those?
One time. Yeah. Just because, you get a trade in and it's what you get to drive. But yeah, never put my foot behind it though. I never put my foot behind it.
Okay. I did. It was my Image Auto detailing days. I had to transport a vehicle from an owner's house to the detail shop. And it's probably the closest thing that I've ever experienced to what it was like, honestly, driving the EV over last week, where you had instant power. I mean, it sounded really great when you did it too. Like there was that element. They're different kind of cool. Like one, you feel like you're on like a Disney ride when it's like, it's just like quiet and you hear this little electric motor hum, like you're about to hit light speed. But the V12, man, that puppy sounded awesome. But yeah, so it's done. I mean, and obviously it's really clear why they're doing it. They're saying, well, look,
sure,
we can get, if it's a performance-based engine that's very complicated to build, we don't build a lot of them. It's expensive to make. It's expensive to maintain. It guzzles gas like nobody's business, right? So with all the regulations and saying like, hey, we can actually match that performance already, right? We can beat it already with our EVs. So yeah, it's going to be done. So if you have one, hold on to that for a little bit. Don't
hold on to that puppy. No doubt. That thing is going to be worth some buck for sure. I'm still like, I was an original adopter of the Leaf. I worked for a Nissan dealership. And so like, I get the whole sneak up behind people, the instant, application of torque, right? And the EV is nowhere like a Tesla or some of the new things.
Yeah, I was going to say, how did the Leaf drive? Was it
fast? Oh, it drove great. I mean, it was crazy because it was like off the line, nothing can beat it, right? Because it's instant 100% torque, right? You get all of it at go.
Yeah.
And that's what EV kind of has the trade-off. And what everybody wants when they talk about like cars with a lot of power is not actually horsepower. It's actually torque. And that's a common misconception that a lot of people come into dealerships say like, I want high horsepower. Like,
right.
No, actually what you want is torque, which is
how that horsepower transfers to the wheels.
Exactly. So, so that's, so it's an interesting play. Like, but I remember that feeling of like, wow, this just feels like, whoa, here I go, off the line. But man, the purr of an engine, I'm still wondering whether or not manufacturers are going to try and introduce that sound feeling, or whether we're just going to transition to a no sound feeling.
I'm going to be honest. I wish I missed it more than I did.
Oh man. Wow.
I wish I missed it. Now, maybe if it's like, I mean, cause like getting back in the Telluride, like there's nothing cool about the way a Telluride sounds, and it's the 6-cylinder, right? But literally I felt like I was driving like a 4-banger Chevy Cavalier, like circa 1998, when I got my V6 Telluride. That before driving that, I was like, this thing really moves. It's redefined. It ruined, just like anything. You get ruined. You have the one good experience, right? You stay at the Ritz-Carlton one time, and now the 4-star hotel, you're like, right?
Yes, and exactly. The Courtyard by Marriott is now like, bah.
when it used to be like, this isn't I don't drive up to my room, right? The Courtyard of Marriott was like, look at this place. And
right,
so,
exactly.
The EV experience, and I will say too that my wife, who is not a motorhead in any way, shape, or form, she doesn't think about these things. She just experiences it. Like, oh, well, let me see if I like this. And she fell in love with the car. All of a sudden, like she's like, leaving. She's like, I feel like that was like a part of the entertainment and the trip. Like I feel like I have a personal connection to this car. And I was like, man, that's just brilliant CX and brand execution to be like, and it was like the stupid things, like the little fireplace thing that you can click on, right? It gave the car personality. The fact that it did a few things, it literally gave the car personality. And that's something that's wide open. You don't have to be Tesla to do that. Right.
No,
and I think the more Ford and GM and the other automakers can lean into the personality of it, right?
Yep.
Like, don't try to be so Fordy, Ford. Don't try to be so Fordy, right? Try to think outside it. And that's that fresh perspective is why the CX.
You think about you think about a phone and the level of personalization and like moments of and surprise and delight that you can get from interacting with a phone, right? That type of interaction is now, we have the capacity for that in the car, right? Personalization, accessorizing, home screen changes, app layout changes, right? And so I think,
I would say a layer deeper than that too. My advice, it's worth, for whatever it's worth, personality is where it's at. Like customization, one thing, yes, we're kind of used to customizing things. It'll be nice when we can customize it, but do things that give that car a personality. Like it's like the humanization of technology, right? You think of that with AI, like everybody's leaning to how can we make it more human? Think of how the car can be more human. And I think you'll have a better connection. And what a better time to surprise and delight with personality for the Fords and the GMs and the Nissans, right? Like as you're now introducing EVs, like make it a new experience, make it super personal. One more thing, we're kind of out of time. Crypto taking a complete nosedive over the last week.
Tanking. I mean, going from, what in November, Bitcoin is in the 60s, right? It's half right now. I think it dipped under. Did it dip under 34 yet? It was
we're at 33.3 right now. And so over the last month, we've gone from 52.1 to 33.3.
Wow.
So massive change in Bitcoin. Ethereum is probably a pretty similar story. Ethereum, we are going from 4,100 to 2,100. So even a deeper, it's almost a 50%. It's almost 50%. Not investment advice, but if I was going to buy some more crypto, which I did,
sometime around now would not be a terrible idea, we're guessing, because the bounce is coming.
And there's a weird arbitrage that can happen right now, because if you think of some of the values or some of the NFTs, if you've been thinking or wanting to get into the game, NFT pricing takes a minute to correct. So say something is 10 ETH or 10 Ethereum, right? And Ethereum is 4,100. And then all of a sudden crypto drops almost by half. Means you can pick that 10 ETH thing up in the short term before it adjusts on the open marketplace. You can pick it up for almost half price. And then when crypto rebounds, you're in a much better place. But look, we're trying to watch that because it gets some interesting things coming with crypto. Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, said he's going to take his convert his first 3 paychecks into crypto. So he just got his first one. Great timing. That paycheck's probably going to double.
Yes, no doubt. Isn't that crazy?
It's a good move for him to commit to that. But we'll also have some conversations going with dealers accepting crypto as payment for a vehicle.
And it's coming. We may even accept crypto for merch here soon. We'll see.
We'll see that. Yeah, I think merch. We have merch. We have a lot of things coming. Look, thanks for spending a few minutes with us today. Am I not hitting the right buttons? There it is. Thanks for spending some time with us today. We got Clubhouse Rooms firing up next week. We got a newsletter being revamped and coming out. We got merch. We got a referral program. Stay tuned. So much more to come. But go ahead and crush some Monday. Get